What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer, and I like to talk about movies. Today we're going to talk about a horror movie that released a couple of months ago, but when it released, it was a limited release, and I didn't have a chance to go see it while it was in theaters. Then recently it dropped on Tubi, which for the record is the worst way to watch a movie ever. It's an obnoxious way to watch a movie. Yes, it's a free service, I get that. But every 10 minutes, they're like, here's 5 laundry detergent ads. Oh, you were watching a movie? Well, you're watching these ads now, just enjoy them. And it's infuriating. With that said, the movie is a camp slasher, but it's also a witch movie. That idea intrigued me, so I'm going to do my best to not let Tubi upset me and give you guys a review for She Came from the Woods.
Do you have the faintest idea what you've done? I didn't get the fucking picture! Ah! What does she want? The leg! I get
And so, guys, the movie She Came from the Woods is directed by Bloomquist, who also is a writer on this movie and stars in the movie as Danny, one of the camp counselors that goes a little crazy. But with that said, guys, let's jump into the synopsis for this movie. You've got a group of camp counselors in 1987, which right there I want to pause and say I love that time frame. I'll get to my likes in a little bit, but I love that time frame. Technology wasn't where it is today. Like, if you have a horror movie, especially set at a camp in this remote area, and you do it in the 80s, it's so fun for me. I love that. It's a camp slasher movie set in the 1980s about a group of camp counselors that accidentally resurrects a witch. And I say accidentally, but they kind of meant to. I mean, they every year at the last day of summer camp, they put the kids on a bus, they leave, and then they all gather around a fire and they joke and they laugh and they have a good time and they drink, and then they try to resurrect a witch. Well, one of the guys from the camp counselors group decides, hey, this year we're gonna make it happen because this witch used to be a nurse. So if we prick our fingers and call her name, then she's gonna come to us because a nurse would, but she's also an evil witch. So this will be fun. Nothing could go wrong. But of course, everything goes wrong because when you conjure up a witch, crazy shit starts happening. With that said, I don't want to get into any more of the plot for this movie because I don't want to spoil things. If you haven't watched She Came from the Woods, again, you can watch it on Tubi for free. You just have to put up with those ads. But let's get into my likes, and then we'll get into my dislikes. First thing I really liked about this movie, kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but I love a summer camp slasher movie set in the 80s. There's something wonderful about that time frame where technology is at a very low, and so when the phone goes out for the camp, there's nothing else. Maybe you got a radio, but that's it. And maybe that radio has a signal. There's something great about that. Now, the second thing I really like about this movie is going to be some of the gore and practical effects that they use. Not all of them, but some of them really worked for me. Some of the gore really works. There's a moment where you see this girl and she's spitting blood out, and it's a good moment. Like, they did a good job with that scene. And the final thing I really liked about this movie are some of the visuals. There's a couple of different camera tricks that they do that I really liked. Like, there's this bus of kids leaving the camp. The guy driving the bus driving, and then he has some sort of engine issue, so he has to get out of the bus. And he tells the kids, he's like, hey, just stay in the bus. He gets out, he opens the hood, and then immediately closes the hood. So you see the kids, the hood opens, and then he closes it almost immediately, and the kids are gone. It's just a great camera trick, and I really loved how that worked out in the movie. The other thing that I saw that I really liked, and I wanted to point out in this review, there's this moment where the witch officially resurrects, and it's these kids who she's mind controlling are circled around her on the ground and they're chanting, and you see her rise up, and it's just a great visual shot. So those two shots in particular I wanted to highlight in this review as something I really liked. Those are all the things I liked about this movie. Let's get into my dislikes. So getting into my dislikes for this movie, I think the first one that really irritated me is that there's too many characters that you're supposed to care about. And what I mean by that is that in a horror movie, you usually have like a core cast of characters that you're supposed to care about. And then there's other people that are basically expendable for the witch or the evil or whatever the presence is. And then you've got that core cast that can't die. They keep getting out of those jams. Maybe one of them dies toward the end, but for the most part, those are the people you're invested in. This movie tries too much to make you invested in all of the characters, and that just doesn't work for me. You've got a grandfather, his daughter, the daughter's sons, and then you've got their friends, and then you've got some creepy camp counselors who you really don't think should be around kids at all. And I understand the idea for them is like, oh, well, we'll have some really unlikable characters so that when the witch kills them, they'll enjoy the deaths. So again, I understand horror tropes and how it works, but there were just too many characters in this movie for me to care. And by the end, I was like, I just don't care if they kill you. Can we end this movie? And that leads me to my other big dislike for this movie, and that is the story itself. Now, I'm not trying to hate on this movie because I understand somebody put a lot of effort into this horror movie, and it's a low-budget horror movie, but the story could have been better. You've got an idea where these young adults resurrect a witch, and that's a cool concept. But then the witch like possesses people to kill themselves or kill other people, and that's an interesting concept. Again, still interesting. But then it takes this side plot with the kids, and the kids have to come and resurrect the witch herself, which doesn't make any sense. And while that opening shot I talked about where you see the witch come up is a cool visual, once you see the witch, it's kind of not scary anymore. In fact, there's one time where the witch like runs around and grabs somebody and puts an axe to their throat, and I was like, what are we watching here? What's going on here? So the story itself didn't make a lot of sense. There was just all these different plot lines they were trying to push together. And I don't know, maybe the director/writer was going for the moon with this movie. He's like, I have an idea, I have a concept. Some of it's going to work, not all of it's going to work, but we're going to do it all. And so for that, I have respect for the director for trying. But ultimately, the movie left me wanting more. Like, I wanted more out of the plot, but I wanted less from what they gave me. And then I wanted more from the characters, but I wanted less of the characters that they gave me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too picky. With all that said, overall, I will say that She Came from the Woods is an enjoyable time. If you like that genre of summer camp slasher movies, then I think you'll enjoy this movie. But there's a lot going on, and maybe part of my issue was Tubi kept taking me out at pivotal moments and was like, hey, watch some laundry detergent commercials. So I understand that my viewing might be skewed by that, but I just think that there was too much story and too many characters that they wanted you to focus on to really enjoy this movie. So while this movie's not the worst horror movie I've seen this year by a long shot, it's not a movie I'll probably revisit anytime soon. That's my review for She Came from the Woods, and if you enjoyed this review, and I hope you did, hit that like button for me. It helps the video and it helps the channel. If you've seen this movie and you've got thoughts or comments, throw that in the comment section down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts on it. And finally, guys, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I've got a ton of content on here, and I'd love for you to check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Well, guys, we got through another horror movie, and 2023 has been chock full of them. It's a good time for horror if you're a fan of them. With that said, I've done a ton of horror movie reviews here on this channel, and you can check those out right there. Or if you want to see the different 2023 reviews I've done, you can check those out right there.